What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Hope things are going well. It is the day before the 2026 NFL draft kicks off. We will be covering it in full tomorrow and on into the rest of the week until it is all over. A couple of things. So, first, there's not going to be a typical Hawks Nest stream this week, but we are going to be doing streams after day 1 and day 2, and we will probably eventually do a show about day 3, but we're not going to do that right after. And in order for us to do that, we'll probably also have to have more than one day 3 pick. I don't think we're going to do a whole show just to talk about one 6th round pick that we made. So we'll see about that one, but we are planning on doing day 1 and day 2. So that's number one. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. More on them in a moment. But second, I am planning on doing a mock draft simulator party tonight on stream. I know I haven't scheduled it yet because I don't know exactly what time I'm going to be able to do it. I'm probably going to try to do it sometime in the middle of the afternoon, but I know that some people are going to be working and maybe won't be able to partake until the evening, so I'm thinking about that too. So I'll figure it out later. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do, but probably sometime tonight, either again, mid to late afternoon or early evening, I'm going to go ahead and do a mock draft simulator stream. We're just going to test out all the different mock draft simulators, see what we can come up with. It's not going to take very long because we don't have a lot of picks, but I do that every year and people seem to like it. All right, so this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that has started to generate a little bit of buzz as we head towards the actual days of the draft. And basically, the idea is that the Seahawks could find a creative way to prying some extra draft picks out of this draft. Right now, we've got 4. And the most conventional way to get more would be to trade back with the picks you have and pick up extra picks. But there's another way to do it too. And this one's interesting. It's the idea of trading players on your roster for picks. And this picked up a little bit of steam over the last few days because Brady Henderson was on the Rob Stanton show. Rob Stanton. I don't know if it's Stanton or Stanton, but he on Rob's show, and he said that he thinks that the Seahawks might trade Oluwatimi sometime this week to pick up an extra pick. It would be a day 3 pick, but the idea is that the Seahawks flip Oluwatimi and pick up some kind of a 5th or 6th round pick, I would guess, and then Oluwatimi gets to start. Or at least get put in a situation where he could take the starting job theoretically. Here, it seems like we're pretty enamored with Jalen Sundell, so I don't think there's much Oluwatimi can do here. So that kind of prompts a conversation about who the Seahawks could be trading and what could you expect to get back. Like, you wouldn't necessarily expect to get back a lot, but it still might be worth it. You look at a player like Oluwatimi, he's decent. He can play in this league. I don't know if he should be starting, but I do suspect he's a top 32 center in the league, so by some measure he should be starting, even if he's kind of low on that list. And somebody out there might value him enough to give up a pick in a not very good draft. Do you like sports? If you do, then the best way to make them even better and more exciting is using Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. Whatever sport you're into, Prize Picks gives you a fun way to stay locked in while you're watching. I've had a great time using Prize Picks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing so easy and fun, and it even makes watching the games way more exciting. And with the cool social feeds feature, you can share lineups with your friends and even follow partners to tail or fade their picks. Obviously, we're in the NFL offseason right now, but we've got basketball, baseball, hockey, all kinds of other stuff, so don't be afraid to test things out in whatever sport clicks with you. You can even pick multiple sports in the same lineup and sweat everything at once. And don't forget about team picks, where you can pick winners, spreads, and totals on any major game. So, download Prize Picks, America's #1 sports app, And don't forget, code HMA, that is HMA, gives you $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So in the case of Oluwatimi here, you are saving some money, right? If you go down to his 2026 cap hit, it's 1.2 million, about one and a quarter, and the dead cap is less than 80 grand. So you're saving pretty much all of that 1.2 million. You're saving over 1.15, pretty close to 1.2 mil. So there is some notable savings in that, and you might use the pick on another player. Like, let's say you get a 5th round pick back for Oluwatimi. You're going to turn around and draft a player that is going to be making a little bit less, not a lot less, probably somewhere around $900,000 in the first year of their rookie contract. So you're only saving like a couple $100,000, but you're pushing it forward, right? Because the player that you get is going to have 4 years left on their deal, whereas Oluwatimi right now only has 1. So you're not really saving money, but you are flipping I don't want to say old asset, but you are flipping an older asset for a younger one that is a little bit cheaper and is going to have more years of club control. So that's the idea. And the player, in this case, Oluwatimi, is a backup on your team anyway. And if you're a team out there that is destitute at center, and I don't have a team on the top off the top of my head that is destitute at center, would you rather trade your 5th round pick for Oluwatimi and then have him be your starter? Or would you rather draft Parker Brailsford or Jaeger Burton or somebody like that and hope they can be the guy when you have no idea what they're going to do in the NFL? With Oluwatimi, you at least have some reason to believe that he can be good or competent because he's been competent before. And by the way, players typically don't hit their prime until they hit 27, so he's probably still got his best years in front of him. That's the part that you got to figure out here. And again, I don't know if it would be a 5th round pick. Maybe it would be a 6th round pick, but it doesn't even really matter that much. The idea is that you offload a player for something because in a year he's going to leave in free agency, and then you get either nothing or very little. You might get a comp pick, but Oluwatimi's probably not going to play very much in 2026. So how is he going to get a significant comp pick when he's not out there proving that he's a good player worthy of a bigger deal? That's just not very realistic. Now, what I would say is this, and this is going to go for the next couple of things that I look at as well. When you're in a Super Bowl window, which this Seahawks team clearly is because they just won the Super Bowl, is it a good idea to be trading players that you know have some value right now for draft picks that turn into players that you have no idea about? You could make an argument that it would be better to just have Oluwatimi as your backup because you believe in him and trust him and you know he can be okay, and provide yourself that kind of release valve in the event that something happens with Sundell. But if you really, really like Sundell and you know he's your guy, there is some wisdom behind the idea of, even in a year where you're going for it, flipping Oluwatimi. Now, the Oluwatimi conversation is probably the most compelling because this one makes sense. He definitely has value, and he also definitely has no real path to significant playing time on this team. But there are a couple other guys that I think you could have this same conversation about. So while we're here, let's go ahead and have that conversation about 2 others. Christian Haynes, we drafted him 2 years ago, and he has been basically nothing. He has barely played. When he has played, it's been mostly bad. We clearly don't trust him. He came into the league as an older player anyway. He was 24 when we drafted him. He's 26 now. And I know that you've got Anthony Bradford sitting there at right guard right now that everyone would, or not everybody, but a lot of people would like to replace. But Christian Haynes would have taken that job at some point if he was going to do it, right? Like, Bradford was having his ups and downs last year. Haynes never seriously threatened for that job as near as we can tell. The only time Haynes got on the field last year was when Zabel missed like 10 snaps at the end of the Rams game. and it just doesn't seem like there's much there. Like, if there was, you would think you would eventually get at least some action at right guard over Bradford. Because Bradford, I mean, I don't think he's terrible, but he's certainly heavily flawed. So Christian Haynes, he was still a third-round pick not that long ago. Maybe somebody out there sees something. This is probably more like a seventh-round pick. So if you're trading Christian Haynes, you're trading him just to scrape out some tiny little bit of value. You're not doing it because you think you're going to flip it into some really valuable asset. But if you're a team out there that looks at Christian Haynes and you're like, hey, we liked him a lot in the 2024 draft. We think there's something here. The Seahawks couldn't bring it out. We're going to try to figure out what's going on here. That's probably worth a seventh-round pick. This is not a good draft. Now, we do save a little bit of money. We save a little bit more than $1 million if we trade him because he's got the dead cap hit of $500,000. The cap hit itself is about 1.6, so we're saving a little bit more than $1 million. And the pick we get, the rookie year cap hit for that player, whoever we draft in the 7th, is going to be very low. It's going to be probably like, you're probably taking away most of that cap hit, but you're still leaving a few $100,000. But again, the goal is to try to get somebody that you have some belief in, because at this point, it seems like the Seahawks have zero belief in Christian Haynes. 7th-round pick, maybe you get Andre Fuller. You could have at least some modicum of belief in him, right? That's not completely absurd. It's not ridiculous. So you're getting 4 years of club control over a new player rather than this player that you seem to have already kind of rejected. I don't get the sense that there's any possibility that Christian Haynes is part of this team's long-term plan. And hey, that's the 7th-round pick is better than nothing. And giving him a fresh start somewhere, that's also, good on him. Good on Christian Haynes if he's able to get a fresh start somewhere and do a little bit better. So that would be another trade candidate. And by the way, if the Seahawks acquire a new right guard in the next few days, if they draft Gennings Dunker, if they draft Keelan Rutledge, then I think Anthony Bradford probably gets traded because he's making too much money to be a backup. And he did just start for a team that won the Super Bowl, so somebody's going to value that. So keep an eye on that. I think it's unlikely we get another right guard, but something to think about. The third guy I want to talk about is Tyrese Knight. I think this is the guy with probably the most value. Maybe I kind of feel like he would have more value than Oluwatimi. I think you could get at least a 5th-round pick for Tyrese Knight. I think that's reasonable. He's only 25. He was good as a rookie. He regressed some in his sophomore year, but there were health issues there. And I believe that people kind of forgot about how effective he was that rookie year because of Drake Thomas. But Tyrese Knight was legit, especially for a rookie. And I think things out of his control, and I think things that don't reflect on him as a player, derailed his career a little bit. But to me, Tyrese Knight is still valuable. And for the moment, he doesn't really have a path to obvious playing time on this team. Ernest Jones, 2 years left on his deal. Drake Thomas signed a 2-year deal. And we seem to be pretty happy with both of those guys. However, I do think that he is a guy that is good to have around for depth purposes. I don't look at Tyrese Knight and go, we got to get him out of here. I think there is value in having your first linebacker off the bench, which Tyrese Knight probably is, be somebody that you have some degree of faith in. That is a violent position. Ernest Jones has missed games in his career. He's fought through injuries in his career. Drake Thomas, still a little bit of an unknown quantity. We don't totally know what we have there yet. We're talking about a year of evidence, and it wasn't even a full year. So I'm not hot to trot on this one, but I could see an argument for flipping him for like a 5th-round pick and then using that 5th-round pick on another linebacker and resetting your rookie 4-year deal, right? Like, you take a look at the cap hit, it's about 1.25 in 2026. The dead cap would be less than 400,000, so you're saving 800 grand, maybe well, close to that, like 800 or 900 grand, somewhere around there. 850, call it. Let's split the difference. But Obviously, that money would get eaten up by whoever you draft in the 5th round pretty much entirely. But again, you're rolling it forward. And Knight, I actually think, would be looked at in a slightly more optimistic way than a guy like Oluwatimi or Haynes. Certainly Haynes. But don't you want to keep him around for another chance at a Super Bowl, knowing that he could get out there very easily? I don't know. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. That is the list of guys that I think we could trade in the next few days for more draft picks. Keep an eye on this. Go Hawks.